Evening or morning, depending where you are. Right now it's 12:02 on a Wednesday morning. And I had a few thoughts I was going to bring out here. When I was at work tonight, I was thinking about all the things that have been happening to me the last 2.5 years. A lot of things have happened in the last 2.5 years, for instance. Well, before I go into that, I'll explain who I was before this. I kind of grew up in a small town, about 40,000 people. It's called Quincy, Illinois. And I'm the son of as I said, a contractor. An older dad, he was also a contractor, a very successful one. But the main thing about it was that I noticed, now, and I'll tell you more about him in another blog. But the one thing that happened to me was that I was pretty much raised to be a small town guy. I mean, that's not against him. He was an exceptional dad, and I'll tell you, as I said, I'll tell you more about him later. But I was raised to be a small town guy, and long story short, and that's for another blog, it took a lot of ironing, get a lot of bumps out of me for me to be a big city guy like I am right now. A lot of them. But the changes, what's the way to say this? The changes that I've gone through have all gone in the last 2.5 years. And it just happened waking up one morning. It was October 30th, 2.5 years ago. I was living with this one lady named Crystal. And, about 43 years old. She was just a roommate of mine. It was her place. And I needed a place to stay for a little while because I was basically unemployed and broke. And she kept me here in Atlanta. So, well, she had a broken foot, and I'd help her out. She'd help me out. And it was pretty cool. She took me for my really late birthday. My birthday's in August, and she takes me for my late birthday dinner the night before. Next morning, I find her dead. Face down on a pillow. Just dead, 43 years old. Heart attack, pulmonary embolism. That's where it all started. Soon enough, the night before, she took me out for my birthday. Then she's dead, and I am homeless, basically, and jobless. And a friend of mine, Brian, at the time, he took me in for a while, which I'm still thankful for. And then my brother did. So, before I got my place again and got a job again, I was basically all that happened. 4 months go by. February 28th, my dad collapses. 82 years old, he collapses. A week later, he's gone. But after my mom told me what happened, I expected what happened. I was starting to move home. I was starting to drive home before that. And when I was driving home, I had 102 fever, and I was just in bad shape. And I was a hell. But that's another story. But I went home there, and we saw him go, but he got to at least go at home. So yeah. 2 months later, I was involved in it was supposed to be, I was supposed to be directing, not directing, but producing this one show for PBS, and the director died. That ended that. That would have been my career there, probably a start. And that ended that part. So, there's those changes that happen. Then around February again, the next year, well, actually, it was in March, who cares? Grandma passes away, 88 years old. I can only laugh right now. And it's like, trust me, I don't even need to cry, because this is just all a story I want to tell you. It doesn't mean I don't miss them all. It's almost like God's practical joke. I didn't have any changes. My two grandpas died. My two grandpas died at 14 months apart, and then I didn't have any changes. And then a favorite babysitter of mine died, and then nothing else after that for years and years. So it was almost like just a big. So then, my best friend just basically turned. And that was basically the last of everything. No, it wasn't quite, but I'll tell you in a second. We were Bears fans, both of us. We met 7 years earlier. That's Brian, by the way, the one that brought me in. 7 years earlier. And we were the Bears fans. We had a lot in common with sports and everything. He was at the time he was 42 years old, but he was like a 16-year-old. And that was fun for a kid that just moved into Atlanta. You know, he was going to be forever single. He could cook amazingly, bring me these great barbecues, watch football, and every Sunday was kind of like a vacation. Then we'd hang out a few times in the after football season. We'd go to a Cubs game or something, but this was a good man. He's not dead, but he's a good man. And then I'm going to respect what happened. I'm going to respect him. There was a lot of things between us, but I'm going to respect this. A lot of problems happened with him. And it got to a point where I had to take control and I had to do something I didn't want to do. And then he had to go home to Illinois. So I lost everything, and then you lose a friend. It's not easy to do. But the final straw happened. My mom sold our house. Well, not she, but basically we all sold our family home. 40 years. That place has been around 40 years, and that's gone. Well, the good thing about it was I get to say goodbye to it, and it was not too soon. Much as we loved that place, and as much as that's got great memories, it was falling. It is, yeah. But I think of something. I think of all this. Changes are supposed to happen. Changes are supposed to happen in life. Growing up, Larry Bird, my three heroes are Larry Bird, Hulk Hogan, Walter Payton. That's just growing up as a kid. Now, Larry Bird's gotten fat. He's gotten fat, and we don't know where his health is. Hulk Hogan's crippled. He's still around. But he's still around. It's still a hero to a lot of people, but it's kind of a shell. And Walter Payton's gone. Walter's gone. And the Hulkster's going to be gone one day. And Larry Legend's going to be gone one day. And I'm now accepting of all this. I'm now accepting of all these changes in my life. There's good reason for it. I don't have the answers. There's only one being that has the answers to me. But I'm not even going to ask. I don't even think I want to know. Because I think I needed them. I needed these changes in my life. Because I went through a lot of times where I was trying to grow up and I wasn't. I was a little too naive with the world. And so all of the stuff that happened to me made me who I am now. I'm better than I ever was. So I'm not going to question. I'm just going to go on. Maybe I am numb to change. Maybe I am. And maybe that sounds bad, but it's not. It's not meant to be. It's just meant. My dad always did say I'd get new friends. He always did say things are just going to change and it just happens. And he's right. That's not exactly the biggest amount of wisdom he ever said, because he had many more, but he was right. This just changes and they just happen. So embrace them. Embrace them. Be happy. And just know that whatever happens is meant to be. And you can either let it strengthen you or kill you. And the latter is not a great choice. Have some fun. Have fun with life. We're going to be in the ground soon enough anyway. We will. And when we shuffle off this mortal coil, we can leave a legacy. And as Tim Tebow once said, you have a birth and you have a death. And in between is a dash. What are you going to do with it? Have a good night, everybody.